This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, August 18th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump welcomes Ukrainian President Zelenskyy and a cadre of European allies to the White House. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
Yes, there was progress at the summit, say White House officials. Others are not so sure. I'm Rich Johnson.
New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell has been indicted on federal conspiracy, fraud, and obstruction charges. I'm Ed Donahue.
On Wall Street, stocks are coming off a winning week as the Jackson Hole meeting gets going later this week with economists and Wall Streeters. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Strike at Air Canada and a refusal to work order causes canceled flights in the U.S. and around the world.
West Virginia is sending hundreds of its National Guard members to the nation's capital. I'm Nayan Kim.
Humanitarian visas out of Gaza on hold for now. I'm Clayton Neville.
All ahead on America in the Morning. On Friday, President Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin for discussions on ending the conflict in Ukraine. Later today, Trump meets with Ukrainian President Volodomir Zelenskyy at the White House. But Zelenskyy won't be alone. John Stolnis has the preview from Washington.
Zelenskyy arrives in Washington backed by a number of European leaders, all of whom will meet with the president at the White House today in a show of solidarity for Ukraine. Over the weekend, Zelenskyy said they must display a unified front.
It's crucial that Europe is as united now as it was at the very beginning.
U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff tells Fox News Sunday security guarantees for Ukraine's future safety will be paramount.
I think part of the discussion that we're going to have on Monday throughout the day, because there's going to be breakout sessions there, is exactly the specifics of what the Ukrainians feel that they need. Because remember, as mediators, we were at this summit to advance the Ukrainian position, and we did that.
Reports indicate the United States would be willing to provide military-backed Article 5 protection for Ukraine outside of NATO. It's also reported Russia would want the Donetsk region of Ukraine to be turned over to them as part of a peace deal. Russia says they have annexed it, and while they control a majority of it, they do not control all of it. Zelenskyy says that's a non-starter.
Putin has been unable to take it for 12 years, and the constitution of Ukraine makes it impossible to give up territory or trade land.
Zelenskyy's last trip to the White House came last February during a highly confrontational meeting between Trump and the Ukrainian leader in the Oval Office.
God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You
God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio tells NBC's Meet the Press the Ukrainian demand for a ceasefire before a peace deal is not off the table, and he pushed back on the idea of sanctions against Russia at this time.
The minute you issue new sanctions, your ability to get them to the table, our ability to get them to the table, will be severely diminished.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte will all be in attendance at the White House today. John Stolnis, Washington.
Trump administration loyalists are defending the president after Friday's summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin, detractors attempting to find ways to disparage the president. Here's Correspondent Rich Johnson.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio hopped around the Sunday interview shows, saying the quest for a Ukraine peace deal was never going to happen in one summit.
We are trying to find what can we get to that both sides can agree on, and it's been difficult. This is a hard issue set, but we're dedicating a lot of time to it, and the president deserves credit for dedicating time to it.
That's Rubio on NBC's Meet the Press, and then on Fox Business Futures.
He's made peace a priority of his administration, as you've seen with all the peace deals we've been able to achieve throughout the world. This one's the hardest one. Everyone acknowledges that, but he's the only one in the world that has any chance of doing it.
If Trump is going to do it, he needs to shift from his usual velvet glove treatment of Putin.
But I think the hammer needs to come, and it needs to come immediately.
Former Vice President Mike Pence.
Putin's not going to stop until he's stopped.
Courtesy of CNN. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff also told CNN, while there was no ceasefire deal,
we made so much progress at this meeting with regard to all the other ingredients necessary for a peace deal.
As for how it all looked on our TVs on Friday.
The optics were really much more favorable to Putin than they were to the United States. It really looked like Putin had set the agenda there.
Former National Security Council Russia expert Fiona Hill, courtesy of CBS. Virginia Senator Mark Warner agreed, saying on his Instagram account,
was hoping that there could have been a breakthrough. But instead, Vladimir Putin once again played Donald Trump for a chump.
The toughest words, though, also came on Instagram. Former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger called Trump's appearance with Putin after their meeting embarrassing.
I mean, I was asking myself, when are you going to ask him for an autograph or for a selfie or something like that? I mean, you literally sold out at this press conference our intelligence community, our justice system, and worst of all, our country. You're the president of the United States. You shouldn't do that. I mean, what's the matter with you?
I'm Rich Johnson.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's the biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale. Limited time, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. Allegations of concealing a romantic relationship by the New Orleans mayor. That's when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Monday's storms on land also feature a big one at sea. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Hurricane Erin has become the first hurricane of the season, and a major hurricane at that, as a Category 4. It is moving through the western Atlantic and will continue turning northward just off the East Coast this week. AccuWeather hurricane experts are saying it will fortunately remain far offshore, but there will still be turbulent surf along the eastern seaboard through most of the week. Beachgoers should use extra caution and listen to local authorities regarding beach safety. A storm system moving through the northern plains will continue to produce thunderstorms over many northern plains states from North and South Dakota into Nebraska, southern Minnesota, Iowa, southern Wisconsin, and northern Illinois. These storms will be slow-moving and can produce drenching rainfall in some areas, especially in southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois, and some of these areas have already been hit with heavier rain and will be more prone to flash flooding. Along with the heavier rain, there will be some damaging wind gusts, hail, and even an isolated tornado. These storms will continue to progress eastward into Michigan tonight and then southward into northern Kansas as well. Additional shower and thunderstorms will develop farther south through eastern Colorado into western Kansas, eastern New Mexico, and into Texas. They'll be isolated in nature, but they could still have some potency with damaging winds and hail. Another cold front will be moving south, causing some lingering showers along the coast from Massachusetts into New Jersey, and scattered thunderstorms farther south and even southwest into the Tennessee Valley. Behind this front, it is going to be much more comfortable with sunshine and highs in the 60s and 70s. That's the weather across America. It's going to be hot in Austin, Texas today with plenty of sunshine and a high of 103. Portsmouth, New Hampshire will be a little more comfortable with clouds breaking for sunshine and a high of 74. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The mayor of New Orleans, with only a few months left in her term, is now facing serious charges for a relationship she was allegedly involved in and trying to hide. Here's correspondent Ed Donahue.
New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell has been indicted on federal conspiracy, fraud, and obstruction charges. Cantrell is accused of trying to hide a romantic relationship with her bodyguard, Jeffrey Vappy.
He was actually engaged in personal activities, usually with Ms. Cantrell, but sometimes alone at the Pentalba apartment,
which is owned by the city of New Orleans. Acting U.S. Attorney Michael Simpson says the two exchanged encrypted messages.
They also used WhatsApp to intimidate subordinates, to harass a citizen, to lie to colleagues and associates.
The citizen he mentioned took photos of the mayor and Vappy having dinner.
Cantrell filed a police report and sought a restraining order against that citizen.
The mayor and Vappy have said their relationship is strictly professional. He retired last year. The mayor is term limited and will leave office in January. I'm Ed Donahue.
A strike by Air Canada's flight attendants union will be extended through tonight after they denied a return to work order, stranding passengers around the world and here in the U.S. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Air Canada says it's suspending plans to restart operations Sunday after the union, representing 10,000 striking flight attendants, said they'll defy a return-to-work order and continue a strike that has stranded more than 100,000 travelers around the world during the peak summer travel season. Canada's largest airline now says they'll resume flights Monday evening. The Canada Industrial Relations Board had ordered airline staff back to work by 2 p.m. Sunday after the government intervened. At a rally outside the Toronto airport, Union President Mark Hancock said, "Our members are not going back to work. We are saying no." Contract talks have been ongoing for 8 months, with pay and unpaid work as key issues. I'm Julie Walker.
Warren Buffett's latest stock purchase when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Monday Business has arrived. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after the Dow hit a new intraday record high on Friday. It was a mixed day for stocks, but a winning week overall. Shares of the beleaguered health insurance company United Health, they soared on Friday 12% after Warren Buffett's new Berkshire Hathaway stake in the company was revealed.
In a regulatory filing, Berkshire Hathaway disclosing it's bought 5 million shares in that company as of June 30th. Total value, $1.6 billion. So maybe it's gotten so bad from the stock standpoint that it finally looks so good to somebody like Warren Buffett. It's an extraordinary move for this stock as a result of Buffett and Berkshire.
CNBC's Scott Wapner. After 2 inflation reports last week showing inflation's going up, consumers really don't like that. And the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index fell again.
Our last final month read was 61.7. 58.6. That's the weakest since May. Now, if we look at expectations, what lies ahead, 57.2. That would be the weakest also since May.
CNBC's Rick Santelli. Investors are bracing for earnings from the big retail chains this week. And these are companies hoping consumers just spend without looking at the prices that are going up.
Those earnings that we're going to get from Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and many others, prices are higher, but the consumer is spending nonetheless. Online sales grew more than the total retail sales number in July, juiced by Amazon's Prime Day sale and those other competing retail events. JP Morgan says higher costs from tariffs are being passed on to consumers and prices. Actual credit card spending data from the CNBC NRF Retail Monitor showed higher prices, but also higher spending in July than the prior month. Spending is holding up.
CNBC's Courtney Reagan. Meantime, retail sales for July came in solid, but below expectations. And the data show that you and American business owners are the ones paying the tariffs.
Who's paying the tariffs? If import prices are up, it means that they're not paying it overseas. And I would look at one particular category, finished goods. Prices for major finished good import categories were mostly up in July. Import prices for consumer goods increased 0.4% in July. So at least in the data, we cannot find the idea that foreign exporters are absorbing this price, at least not now.
Intel shares popped again on a report that the Trump administration's in talks to buy a stake in the company. This would help fund factories Intel is building in Ohio. Ohio is critical to the Republicans in the midterm elections next year. On today's watch list, earnings are coming from Palo Alto Networks. The Bengals and Commanders play preseason Monday Night Football tonight.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Recap of weekend protests in the nation's capital when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. There were protests in the nation's capital over the weekend over the Trump administration's move to place FBI and National Guard troops on the streets in an effort to cut crime. Washington correspondent Nahum Kim reports that following a federal government request, a neighboring state is sending more troops to Washington.
West Virginia is sending hundreds of its National Guard members to the nation's capital as part of the Trump administration's effort to overhaul policing in the District of Columbia. Governor Patrick Morrisey announced on Saturday that he was sending a contingent of 300 to 400 to nearby Washington at the Republican administration's request. In a statement, he said they'll arrive in the district along with equipment and specialized training services. The move comes after Trump's executive order on Monday, which federalized local police forces and activated about 800 D.C. National Guard troops. District officials say they're evaluating how to best comply. I'm Nayan Kim.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is defending a move to pause visitor visas from Gaza. Correspondent Clayton Neville explains.
Over the weekend, the State Department announced that all visitor visas for Palestinians in Gaza are being stopped while the agency conducts a full and thorough review of the process and procedures that are used to issue temporary medical humanitarian visas. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was asked by CBS's Face the Nation why children seeking medical aid in the United States would be a threat.
There is evidence been presented to us by numerous congressional offices that some of the organizations bragging about and involved in acquiring these visas have strong links to terrorist groups like Hamas.
He said that multiple congressional offices have reached out with concerns.
And so we're going to reevaluate how those visas are being granted, not just to the children, but how those visas are being granted to the people who are accompanying them.
The State Department insists that the U.S. is not going to be in partnership with groups that are friendly with Hamas. I'm Clayton Neville.
America in the Morning for Monday, August 18th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin spoke separately and positively about their meeting, even though no deal was reached. I'm Nayan Kim.
A shooting at Taste of City Lounge in Brooklyn leaves 3 men dead. Julie Walker, New York.
Democrats in Texas celebrating what they consider a win, while Republicans are glad to get back to business. I'm Clayton Neville.
Buying merchandise for Florida's newest detention center just got tougher. I'm Katie Clark with details.
Aaron continues to churn in the Atlantic. Robert Workman has sports and the state of late-night television.
A library book showed up in Texas 82 years late. I'm Ed Donahue.
Back after these messages. Welcome back, and thanks for listening. You're with America in the Morning. Here's the latest national forecast from AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Major Hurricane Aaron is moving through the western Atlantic. It will be turning northward just off the east coast this week. AccuWeather hurricane experts are fortunately saying it will remain far offshore, but there will still be a turbulent surf along the eastern seaboard most of the week, and areas around the Outer Banks in North Carolina will be especially prone with the storm making its closest approach to that area. Meanwhile, over land, a storm moving through the northern plains will produce thunderstorms over many plain states from north and South Dakota into Nebraska and eastward through southern Minnesota, Iowa, southern Wisconsin, and northern Illinois. These storms will be slow-moving and could lead to flash flooding in some areas, especially in southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois. Some of these areas have already been hit with heavier rain and are more prone to that flooding. These storms could also produce some damaging wind gusts, hail, and even an isolated tornado. They will continue to progress eastward tonight into Michigan and then southward into northern Kansas. Additional showers and thunderstorms will develop farther south from eastern Colorado into western Kansas and then continuing into eastern New Mexico as well as Texas. They'll be more isolated in their development, but they could still have some potency with damaging winds and hail. Another cold front moving southward in the east will cause lingering showers on the coast from Massachusetts to New Jersey with scattered thunderstorms through Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, and then extending into North Carolina, in northern Georgia, and northern Alabama. Behind this front, it will be much cooler in the northeast with highs in the 60s and 70s. Heavier thunderstorms developing across Florida this afternoon, and in the west, it'll be largely dry with plenty of sunshine. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Today, the next phase following last Friday's meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy set to arrive at the White House today. As for the Trump-Putin sit-down, reaction was mixed in the U.S. and abroad, which included Secretary of State Marco Rubio speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, praising Donald Trump, but cautioning that new sanctions now would not be the right time as negotiations remain underway.
As much as people may not like it, as distasteful as people may find it, the only way to end this war is to get the Russians to agree, as well as the Ukrainians, but the Russians to agree to a peace deal. And the minute you issue new sanctions, your ability to get them to the table, our ability to get them to the table, will be severely diminished. That moment may arrive, but when it comes, what you're basically signaling is there is no opportunity for peace at this point. So just let's put on more sanctions and allow more people to get bombed and more people to be killed, and that's what we're trying to stop.
After the dust has settled on the Alaska summit, both U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke separately and positively about their meeting, even though no deal was reached.
I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening.
Back on Russian soil, Putin briefed senior officials, saying both sides expressed a shared interest in ending the conflict in Ukraine. The conversation was very frank, informative, and, in my opinion, it brings us closer to the necessary solutions. Speaking on Fox News, Trump described the 3-hour meeting as very extensive, but stressed that it's now up to Ukraine to act.
Now it's really up to President Zelenskyy to get it done. And I would also say the European nations, they have to get involved a little bit.
Reactions from everyday people are as divided as the leaders themselves. In Kyiv, frustration was loud and clear. Natalia Chuchul told the Associated Press, "I'm very surprised that Trump met with a terrorist who's being wanted by the whole world." Another Kyiv resident, Andriy Savin, said, "It's good that they met, but we hope for the meeting where there'll be 3 sides, including European leaders. Maybe then something will happen." Meanwhile, in Moscow, the mood was more cautious, but hopeful. Pensioner Mikhail said, "I think that the US and us have very different goals, and it'll be difficult to find something in common." And Elena, a 60-year-old Moscow resident, said, "The fact that they started to meet is positive. In any case, Ukraine is a brotherly people for us. We have to find some common ground because we love them." Ukrainian President Volodomir Zelenskyy is now set to meet Trump on Monday in Washington. I'm Nayan Kim.
Deemed gang violence in New York City, a dispute at a Brooklyn club became the scene of a mass shooting, leaving 3 dead and several more injured. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
A shooting at Taste of City Lounge in Brooklyn just before 3:30 Sunday morning leaves 3 men dead, including a 19-year-old and 9 others, both men and women, injured. In all, they range in age from 19 to 61. New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says there was some kind of dispute.
The shooting preliminarily appears to be gang-related.
She says the guns appear to be 9mm and .45 caliber, and a gun was recovered not far from the scene.
There was a dispute inside the crowded club that led to the shooting. We believe that there were up to 4 shooters involved in this incident. Our crime scene investigators have now recovered 42 shell casings from multiple guns.
The commissioner says whenever gangs are involved, there's always concerns about retribution.
We have the lowest number of shooting incidents and shooting victims 7 months into the year that we've seen on record in the city of New York. Something like this is, of course, thank God, an anomaly.
Taste of the City is billed as a restaurant serving American and Caribbean food, as well as bar and hookah lounge that also has a DJ. Tisch says last year there was a non-fatal shooting there. And last month there was another mass shooting at a New York City office building housing NFL headquarters. 4 people, including a police officer, were killed. The shooter took his own life.
We will continue to fight to do everything that's possible to continue to take illegal guns off our street. And I can easily stand here and tell you how we have driven down crime, we have removed over 22,000 illegal guns off our streets. I can give you those numbers and those stats, but that does not comfort those who are the victims of gun violence.
Julie Walker, New York.
Democrat lawmakers in Texas are slowly returning to their state after breaking quorum to delay a vote on proposed congressional maps that could give the GOP 5 seats in next year's midterm elections. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
It's likely that when enough Democrats return to the state capitol in Austin, that proposed congressional maps will pass the Republican-led legislature. But national Democrats like former President Barack Obama consider the holdout a win for the Dems. He spoke virtually with the Texas lawmakers who left the state.
I want all of you to be returning feeling invigorated and know that you have helped to lead what is going to be a long struggle.
The expected return by Democrats comes after the first special session that Texas Governor Greg Abbott called ended on Friday. A second immediately begun. Redistricting, though, is still an agenda item in that second session, and the other move prompting the potential return came out of California.
I know they say don't mess with Texas. Well, don't mess with the great Golden State.
California Governor Gavin Newsom moving forward with a plan to draw retaliatory maps in his state.
We're doing this in reaction to a president of the United States that called a sitting governor of the state of Texas and said, find me 5 seats. We're doing it in reaction to that act.
Republican Congressman Roger Williams of Texas pointed out to Fox News that the Democrats have abandoned voting on legislation surrounding flood relief in Texas during the quorum break.
If that's a win for them, that's the bar that we could live with forever as conservatives.
Republicans say it's time to get to business, like it or not. Whether or not, though, that business resumes today or later in the week falls solely on the Democrats' potential return. I'm Clayton Neville.
Among the stories we're covering next, Republican merchandise sales under the microscope and augmented reality. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Hurricane Erin continues to churn in the Atlantic Ocean, at one point exploding from tropical storm strength to a catastrophic Category 5 monster within 24 hours. As of this morning, the track of the storm, which has weakened slightly, will stay out in the Atlantic before turning away from the continental United States. However, the strength of the storm will create life-threatening coastal conditions all this week from Florida to Maine. Due to the expected rough seas, part of the North Carolina Outer Banks were under an evacuation order, and higher than normal waves and dangerous rip currents are expected to create trouble at beaches. Lifeguards in Virginia Beach, Virginia, reported nearly 200 water rescues from the ocean over the weekend. As Florida plans to open their second immigrant holding facility to be called Deportation Depot, the Republican Party of Florida is catching flap over merchandise they're selling, which parodies a major retailer. Correspondent Katie Clark explains.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis opened the first illegal immigrant detention center, Alligator Alcatraz, about 50 miles from Miami in southern Florida recently, and is getting ready to open the second detention center in just a few weeks. Located in northeast Florida, just outside of Jacksonville, that can hold around 1,300 people. Governor Ron DeSantis.
We are calling this the Deportation Depot. The reason of this is not to just house people indefinitely. We want to process, stage, and then return illegal aliens to their home country. That is the name of the game.
The Florida GOP's website's been selling merchandise for both Alligator Alcatraz and Deportation Depot, such as cups, t-shirts, and hats. The logo for Deportation Depot looks a lot like Home Depot's logo, complete with orange color and the same font. A representative for Home Depot said that they did not give approval for the detention center's merchandise to copy their logo. It has now been removed from the Florida GOP's website and no longer available for sale. The Florida GOP sells merchandise for political fundraising. I'm Katie Clark.
Protests erupt across Israel as Israelis demand a hostage release of the captives held by Hamas. Highways connecting Jerusalem and Tel Aviv were blocked as hundreds of thousands staged the largest anti-war protests in months. As many as 50 hostages, more than half of them dead, are still being held by the terror group for more than 680 days. Hamas rejected the latest proposal for an end to the fighting, instead offering their own plan. Israel's threatening to expand their fight with Hamas, including a direct takeover of Gaza City, unless a hostage deal is completed. America in the Morning continues. Augmented reality smart glasses are gaining in popularity, and soon we'll be getting smarter with new features and AI enhancements. Chuck Palm has details in today's Tech Report.
Counterpoint Research reported that smart glasses are exploding, with shipments skyrocketing over 110% this year alone. Good news for Meta, as they are over 73% of that market, and these glasses could be your next AI assistant. Meta's Ray-Ban glasses, made with Luxottica, sold over 1 million units last year and are leading the pack with the coolest designs and the AI that can handle video, audio, and real-time help. Imagine helping with somebody's name that you've forgotten or where you left your keys, and the answer being whispered in your ear. Still struggling with those foreign language classes? You could get a prompt from AI translated on the fly to help you the next time you're traveling and just can't find the right word. Earlier at CES this year, Xreal's One Pro rocked a 120Hz chip for virtual screens, and Rokid's 300-inch Sony OLED glasses are pushing augmented reality to new heights. For more, find me at chuckpalm.com.
Here's Monday Sports with America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
Baseball Sunday, the Reds beat the Brewers 3-2 in 10 innings, ending Milwaukee's 14-game winning streak. After coming from behind to win 8 of those games, it looked like the crew had one more trick up its sleeve. William Contreras homered in the 9th to give them a 2-1 lead, but Cincinnati got even in the home half, and then Austin Hayes singled in the walk-off winner. The longest current streak in the majors belongs to the Atlanta Braves, who tripped the Guardians 5-4 for their 5th straight. Yankees thumped the Cardinals 8-4. St. Louis has dropped 5 in a row. Mets sank the Mariners last night 7-3 in the annual game at the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Mookie Betts hit a tie-breaking homer in the 8th, and the Dodgers completed their weekend sweep of the Padres 5-4. Manager Dave Roberts.
I don't think anyone in that clubhouse doubted our abilities and how good we can be.
LA now 2 games ahead of San Diego in the NL West. Phillies overpowered the Nationals 11-9. Alec Bohm with a 3-run bomb in his return from the injured list. Rangers hit 4 dingers in a 10-4 romp over the Blue Jays. Orioles kicked some Astros 12-0. Jordan Westburg homered and drove in 5, while Dean Kramer and the Seinfeld scattered 6 hits. Marlins got 9th-inning long balls from Dane Myers and Jacob Marcy to take out the Red Sox 5-3. Twins tamed the Tigers 8-1. Brooks Lee with a grand slam. Wins for the Cubs, Rockies, Royals, Giants, and Angels. Scotty Scheffler came from down 4 strokes at the start of the day to beat Robert McIntyre by 2, winning the BMW Championship, his 5th tournament victory for a 2nd straight year. First guy to do that since that Tiger Woods fellow. And it put Scheffler in line for back-to-back FedEx Cup titles, something no one has ever done. The champion will be crowned this coming weekend at the Tour Championship in Atlanta. That's Monday Sports.
This could be the longest returned overdue library book in history. When America in the Morning returns after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The actor who left his mark as the evil general in Superman 2 has passed away. Donna Warder looks back at the career of Terrence Stamp.
He played the bearded Zod in 1978's Superman and the sequel Superman 2 with Christopher Reeve playing the Man of Steel.
Come to me, son of Jor-El! Kneel before Zod!
British actor Terrence Stamp has died at age 87. Stamp started his career in 1962 with the seafaring Billy Budd, for which he earned an Oscar nomination. He played the transsexual Bernadette in The Adventure of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert in 1994. But it was Superman's arch-enemy Zod that most people remember. Terrence Stamp, dead at age 87. I'm Donna Warder.
Talk show host, comedian Conan O'Brien is taking a realistic look at the state of late-night television following the cancellation of The Late Show. Kevin Carr has more.
On Saturday in Los Angeles, Conan O'Brien was inducted into the Television Academy Hall of Fame.
This is the honor of a lifetime. It means everything to me. I'm stunned to be in this company. I don't think I deserve it, but I'll take it.
The legendary funny man spent almost 30 years as a late-night television host. Of course, in true Conan fashion, he had to explain late-night TV for some viewers.
For those of you under 40, late-night television was a service designed to distract college students until science could perfect the internet and online pornography.
After working as a writer on The Simpsons and Saturday Night Live, a relatively unknown O'Brien was tapped to take over late night when David Letterman left NBC in 1993. After a brief stint as a host of The Tonight Show, O'Brien headlined Conan on TBS for 11 years. With 28 years as a host under his belt, O'Brien has some dire words for the changing industry.
Yes, late-night television, as we have known it since around 1950, is going to disappear.
This statement comes in the wake of CBS canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Still, ever optimistic, O'Brien looked towards the future, marking the end of a medium and time slot rather than the end of television as a whole.
But those voices are not going anywhere. People like Stephen Colbert are too talented and too essential to go away. It's not going to happen.
Earlier this year, O'Brien received the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. I'm Kevin Carr.
We've probably all forgotten to return a library book on time, but for one family, the book they had in their possession since the summer of 1943 has finally been returned to the San Antonio Public Library. And as Ed Donahue reports with an interesting story to tell.
A package was mailed to the San Antonio Library.
A book that had been checked out in 1943.
The library's Scott Williams told KSAT the book is Your Child, His Family and Friends by marriage and family counselor Francis Bruce Strain.
The sender included a letter that tells us a little bit about the history of the book and the history of their family.
A person from Oregon wrote, after the recent death of my father, I inherited a few boxes of books he left behind. He checked out this book when he was 11, taken out by his mother. The family moved to Mexico. The person wrote, I hope there is no late fee for it because Grandma won't be able to pay for it anymore. The library dropped overdue fines in 2021, but the fee would have been, counting inflation, more than $16,000. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Monday, August 18th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. This is Westwood One.